Steve Bartle with us from Nude Zone Radio. I mean, have you talked to anybody that's got any feel or read whatsoever on what is going to happen with Nephi Sewell?
Again, going back all the way to spring, there's a little bit more to his waiver application than there was with Cameron Rising. So that's where the hope is. And as we've learned through, interviews with Coach Whittingham on your show and that kind of stuff, is it's a little bit of a process. There's a lot of back and forth. And so there is a good deal of confidence just because there is a little bit more meat to the waiver application for Nephi. However, still haven't heard either way whether it's going to happen or not, but haven't gotten a timeline just yet. I could probably reach out. That'll probably be a goal of mine over the weekend, is to try and get an update on Nephi and see what's going on there. But yeah, nothing new as of yet.
It's one of the few areas on this football team where they could use a veteran presence and a guy with some real experience at the position, because he's got 2 years worth of starts, albeit at Nevada, but still he played at a high level in the Mountain West Conference. Whether he starts or whether he doesn't start, to have his experience in that rotation with Julian Blackman and Terrell Burgess, I'd rather see him there than somebody that hasn't played any games. Aaron Lowe may be a talent coming in, but he's still never played a college football game.
Yeah, you've got Julian, you've got Terrell, and there's a good deal of confidence in what those guys are going to be able to do. But behind them, you've got Vontae Davis, R.J. Hubert, Keala Santiago, who came to Utah from Hawaii, but he played more so as a freshman than as a sophomore. So if you're able to add Nephi Sewell, that gives you 4 safeties, primarily 3 safeties with Hubert, Vontae Davis, and then Nephi. If you can add Nephi to that trio of backups, that depth is looking way more solid with those 3 rather than just Hubert, Davis, and then Santiago. So if you can add him, if he gets the waiver approved and you add him, the safety position is looking really, really strong.
I think the position group we're going to watch most closely when practice begins in 25 days is that offensive line group, and we've talked at length about it. Make your guess today, July the 5th, knowing that we're 25 days out. Make your best guess to me to how you see the first 5 going, who starts on that line, and then maybe who that first and second guy off the bench, those utility guys, those backups would be, kind of a top 7 with your starting 5.
Yeah, so there's been plenty of discussion about this, and I've been a proponent of Nick Ford starting at right tackle, but I've kind of gone back and forth on that. I think in the previous offense where it was more zone-based, I think Nick Ford is a better fit at right tackle. However, with Ludwig and his offense and a lot of the run schemes, the run blocking schemes, I think your best 5 is probably Darren Paulo at left. If Bam comes in and he earns that left starting job, that's tremendous. That's why you recruited him. But I have Darren at left, Nick Ford at left guard, Umana at center, Braden Daniels at right guard, and then Bam at right tackle. I think with Paulo and Bam at tackle, they have the size and the length where they're a bit more better suited to play on the edge because of their length and their athleticism. They're able to make things difficult for edge rushers. And then with Nick Ford, you're going to be with Nick Ford and Braden Daniels, you're going to be able to utilize them in a lot of pulls and get them out into space, which will be a lot of fun to watch as well. So I think that's the 5, Paulo, Ford, Umana, Daniels, and Olaseni. And then behind them, I'm going to go Simi Moala as the first tackle. And then Noah Myers, who is the
kid from Wazoo.
Transfer. Yep, from Wazoo. I also think Alex Locklear is going to be a guy that is going to be in that rotation, and then Paul Tuala is also going to be in there as well.
So you're giving me kind of a top 9 then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hard not to.
No, I know what you're saying. Let's play worst case scenario real quick here, Bartle. Let's say Bam's not ready to play. Great physical specimen, but we know JC kids are 50-50. And you're asking a kid that hasn't played a lot. Let's face it, he's not played a lot of football. great athlete, played a couple of years dominating at the JUCO ranks. That ain't Pac-12 football. You're asking him to come in and start at tackle in a big year. Let's say there's some complications, takes him a minute to pick up terminology, whatever it might be, adjust to the speed. Who's the right tackle then? Is it Nick? Do you flop Nick Ford out there? Do you move Braden Daniels out there? If it's not Bam Olaseni, who's going to be your right tackle?
Nick Ford. Nick Ford will be my right tackle.
Then who do you slot in then at left guard?
It'll be one of Tuala, Myers, or Locklear, and I might lean towards Myers.
Because he's got a little bit more starting experience? I mean, because I guess Locklear was mostly utility guy backup at Marshall, didn't start a lot of games.
Yeah, he wasn't used correctly. So Marshall tried to utilize him as a tackle, and that is not him at all. He's an inside guy, and so that's kind of the hope with bringing him to Utah, where he can play on the interior. That'll allow him to play a little bit better, suits his skill set, his physical traits as well. But I think with Myers, he was projected to start last year before a shoulder. I think it was a shoulder injury. Took him out for the year. So it's not like, he wasn't a backup. He was projected to start next year for Wazoo. So I think that's kind of what I'm leaning on with Myers. I think that there is a good deal of talent with Myers, and I think that he would be a good fit there, at one of the guard spots.
Steve Bartle, our guest, UteZone.com, UteZone Radio, working his way into a little scouting as well, as he's told us on multiple occasions. How's that going, by the way?
Man, it's a grind. So there's a lot of tape being watched. They give us a few players to watch that kind of set the benchmark. We're talking like Aaron Donald, Zach Martin, those types of players, just to get a feel for who's the best at the position in the NFL.
Here's what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, and then they have a scout, 5 players at a certain position, and we're supposed to judge them on or scout them on different things. So there's 5 primary things that we scout them on, and then there are position traits that we scout them on as well. So there's a lot of tape. We have to watch the coach's film, which is both. You've got the TV angle, camera angle, and then you've got the all 22 behind them, so you get both looks. It's a lot of film to watch. We have to watch 5 games on each player. So it's a grind. It's definitely a grind. Grinding the tape. I'm sure you've seen that on Twitter. People talking about grinding the tape. It is a grind to watch that much football. I love it, but it's definitely, it can be hard sometimes.
He is a grinder on the tape as well as a grinder on the recruiting trail, Steve Bartle. Something we haven't talked much about, but it could become a big story. Jalen Johnson, one of the best corners in the conference and in the country. Javelin Guidry, as good a slot corner, nickel, whatever you want to call him, in the country and in the conference, maybe the fastest man in college football. But that other corner spot that was held down the last 2 years by a guy that a lot of people got after him last year, but he was battling a high ankle sprain early in the season. Julian Blackmon's been a 2-time second-team All-Pac-12 corner. He's moving to safety now. We saw glimpses of Tariq Lewis at times last year. Very little of Josh Nurse, but he's had a good spring. Any concern for you about the opposite corner from Jalen Johnson?
No, obviously with Jalen Johnson on one side, that other, that opposite side is probably going to get a fair amount of looks, a lot of throws their way. So it's going to be challenging, but I think Utah's going to be able to scheme up some things where they can help the opposite corner of Jalen. It's so nice to have a player like Jalen Johnson where he can completely erase one side of the field. That allows you to utilize 10 other players to cover, the remaining spots on the field. And so they'll be able to do some things to help and assist the opposite corner. I think it's going to be Tariq Lewis. That's why they recruited him to Utah, is to come in and to be a starter at corner. He's got great physical traits to play that outside corner spot. And we saw it at times last year. He flashed some good things last year. So I think he's looking to take a good step forward in this game. So, there is concern just because he hasn't started. He's new. He's going to get a lot of throws his way just because of the fact that he's not Jalen Johnson. But, I'm not concerned in the fact that Utah, they will be able to do some things to provide him help and that kind of stuff.
Is that a position battle to watch, you think, in fall camp?
It will be, but it won't be, if that makes sense. So, yes, it will be. Josh Nurse and Tariq Lewis, they're going to battle it out for that starting spot. But I fully expect Tariq Lewis to be the guy at the end of the day. I think Josh Nurse is a great third cornerback just because of, if he's your third cornerback, you're looking really, really strong. But I think Tariq Lewis, with his playing experience last year, the physical traits that he has, I think that he's primed for that starting position.